This is the department versus Gabriella Garza. We're here today on a request for court-ordered services, and we are conducting this through Zoom. We are live streaming, and I'm also recording to the Zoom cloud today. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Eugene Graff on behalf of the state, Your Honor, we announce ready.
Vince Nowak on behalf of Gabriel Garza, the mother, we announce ready, and maybe just a shortcut things, we are willing to work services. Thank you, Judge.
Great, thank you.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of the children.
Mr. Graff, it sounds like then we have an agreement.
Yeah, I guess, counsel, I just have a question in terms of the scope. If she's willing to agree to all services recommended by the department at this time, do we need to go into a breakout and just make sure we're on the same page as that? Or
you know what, that probably wouldn't hurt as long as we bring Ms. Garza in with us. We have generally discussed, maintain. Maybe we can just do it this way, Gabriel. If I say something you're not willing to do, raise your hand.
Okay.
Maintain stable housing, obtain and maintain employment, complete random drug screens, complete a psychological assessment, complete rational behavior therapy, attend parenting classes, and maintain contact with the department. You're willing to do all of that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Graff, if I missed something.
I'll defer to my client, Ms. Watson. Is there anything on that list that, is there anything beyond that list that wasn't stated that you wanted as a service?
No, sir. That sounds like that was all of the services requested.
Great.
And just to be fair to Ms. Watson, the court, and to you, Mr. Graff and Stacy, I always advise all of my clients that there might be other services that aren't listed that we might want. So we might come back knocking to request additional services. Just heads up to y'all.
Great.
Thank you. Thanks, Judge. Thanks for letting me interrupt.
And Ms. Garza, I'm the attorney for the kids, which means that I'm going to have to come out and meet with them. So I just wanted to let you know that my office will be contacting you to do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I guess we have an agreement, Your Honor. I can get that order circulated and over to Your Honor.
That'd be great. And Ms. Garza, I appreciate your cooperation in this, and I hope that you will find that what we're trying to offer to you will be very beneficial and very helpful. I just try to remind parents that everybody that's here is here to help. This isn't about punishment. This isn't about making life more difficult for you. I mean, you will have to put some work in, but what we really want to do is see you succeed so that you don't find yourself in this position again.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, then. We will have a compliance hearing, and that's just kind of an informal check-in, with me so I can hear how everything's going and, what progress you've made, how the kids are doing. And so we'll do that on September 17th of 2024. And that'll be on a 9 o'clock docket. So Mr. Nowak will tell you exactly what time you need to log in.
Okay.
Okay, best of luck to you, and I hope things go really well.
Ma'am, thank you.
Judge,
Okay.
Thank you so much, Judge. And Gabriel, I will be in touch. And Judge, this is my only hearing with the court today, so I'm asking permission to leave the courtroom.
Okay, you are certainly granted that permission, and have a good rest of your day.
You as well. Thank you
We're
so
here
much.
today on a
Thank you,
request for
Mr. Nowak.
court-ordered
Thank you, Ms.
services,
Thank you.
and we are conducting this through Zoom. We're live streaming, and I'm recording to the Zoom cloud. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
On behalf of the state, Eugene Graff, state announces ready, Your Honor.
Natalie Archer on behalf of the mother, Priscilla Patino, and we're both present and ready.
Jerry Morales on behalf of respondent father Santiago Florentino. He is present. We are ready.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of the children.
Okay, then, Mr. Graff, who's your first witness today?
Thank you, Your Honor. The state would call Heather Denicky, Your Honor. Ms. Denicky, you are the signed child protective investigation worker in this case, are you not?
Yes.
Okay, and approximately when were you assigned?
Approximately May 26th.
Okay, and what were the allegations that caused the department to investigate and for you to be assigned?
The allegations were that made an outcry to her mom that her father.
Okay. And so did you subsequently investigate the allegation?
Yes.
And what did your investigation entail?
I had a forensic interview done at the bridge, and I also I and the other two children. I interviewed Priscilla and Santiago.
Okay. And the alleged perpetrator of abuse is whom?
Santiago Florentino.
Okay. And do you know if there's any criminal charges pending at this time?
There are criminal charges pending. I don't know for sure which they are.
Okay. And you indicated you had done some interviewing with the mother as part of your investigation. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And did you also interview Mr. Florentino?
Yes.
Okay. And did the mother raise any of the concerns about the allegations to you during your investigation?
Yes, she did.
Okay. Can you be more specific for the court's benefit?
She said that she took Northwest Texas Hospital to get salt exam done because of the things that telling her about Santiago touching her.
Okay. Were there any other issues of concern raised by the mother that were significant to you as the investigator besides allegations?
Regarding concerns that she had or regarding concerns that I had?
Concerns that you had.
Yes, I was concerned. She told me that she had used methamphetamines approximately 3 weeks before, and that concerned me with the ages of her children.
Okay. And
It was 3 months.
Okay, Ms. Patino, you'll have an opportunity, you and your lawyer will have an opportunity to respond, but
Sorry.
it's okay. It's okay. It's just you can't interrupt what they're doing, so
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
that's all right.
Okay. And were there any other concerns you had besides the drug abuse allegations?
No.
Okay. Subsequent to your involvement, was there any agreement between you and the mother to limit contact with the father? Limit, that is, with the father.
Well, I tried to get a written safety plan in place saying that she would ensure Santiago had no contact with. Priscilla declined to sign that, but she did give me verbal. She made a verbal agreement and said she promises she's not going to let him be around her.
Okay. And do you have reason to believe that she did not follow through with that?
I do.
And what specifically gives you reason to believe that?
Because later on, she told me that Santiago had seen her on 2 separate occasions, that he came to the house and she allowed him to have contact.
Okay. And was there any prior DFPS involvement that you were aware of or learned about during the course of your investigation?
Yes, there was.
Can you be specific about what some of that involvement entailed or involved?
Sure. So in December of 2023, we had a report that alleged that Priscilla was 4 days sober from methamphetamines and was going through withdrawals. In that case, she was not cooperative with the department and did drug screen, and we ended up closing that case. In September of 2023, we had neglectful supervision allegations against Priscilla for an altercation she got into with her other children's father's girlfriend. In 2022, we had an allegation of neglectful supervision of the children by Priscilla. The allegations were that she was abusing cocaine or ice. In that case, she ended up going to inpatient rehab, and the case was open to family-based safety services.
So it sounds like there's a history of periodic drug use, notwithstanding the treatment she apparently received at some point.
Correct.
Okay. Now, with regard to who is their father?
Their father is Marcos Chavez.
Okay. And you're not currently seeking services of Mr. Chavez, are you?
No.
Okay. And did he recently obtain a custody order?
That's the information he told me, yes.
Okay. And what is your understanding about the terms of that order?
My understanding is that right now it's temporary until they go back to court, and that Priscilla is only to have supervised contact.
Okay. And Now, you're not seeking removal of them at this time, is that right?
Correct.
Is there some protective safety factor or factors in place that causes you to not seek removal?
No, we were unable to get anything like that. We were
Okay.
unable to come to an agreement.
Okay. Do you believe that there's a substantial risk of ongoing danger of abuse or neglect to the mother's participation in the remedial services?
Yes.
And are you just simply saying that the risk at this point in time doesn't rise to the level of removal?
Yes, I think we would need more information about mom's drug use.
Okay. And have you offered her services?
Yes, I have.
And what specifically did you offer?
I offered her to drug screen. I offered her drug screening services. That would be the first step.
Okay. And was she agreeable?
The very first time that I met with her, she said she would be willing to drug screen. And when I actually asked her to do it, she said no.
Okay. And I believe you testified earlier you had also attempted a safety plan?
Yes.
Okay. And what were the terms of the safety plan?
The safety plan was that Santiago would have no contact with any of the children. That was basically it.
Okay. And speaking of Mr. Florentino, is it your belief that there's a substantial risk of ongoing danger of abuse or neglect to the children absent his participation in remedial services?
Yes.
And was he offered any services?
He was also offered the opportunity to do a drug screen, and he refused.
Okay.
And he was offered to.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I also offered a safety plan to him too, for him to sign, saying he wouldn't have contact throughout the investigation, and he refused to sign that also.
Okay. And in your conversations with him, did he disclose any recent drug use?
He did. He said he had used meth recently,
Okay. Do you recall how recent?
about approximately 2 weeks.
Okay. And so besides the drug abuse and the allegations as they relate to Mr. Florentino, did you have any additional concerns about any safety issues?
No.
Okay. And so at this point in time, you are asking the court to order some remedial services. Can you just describe for the court what services you are requesting and why you're requesting each service?
Yes. So we're requesting that both parents participate, that they maintain a drug-free lifestyle and abstain from using illegal drugs. We're asking them that for them to do drug testing. We're asking them for them to do outreach, screening, assessment, and referral, which is OSAR, and to complete any recommendations that are made by OSAR to help them if there are issues with drug and alcohol use.
Mm-hmm.
We're asking for individual counseling for both parents. We're asking for parenting classes for both parents. Youth education class for Priscilla. Since her child has made an outcry of sex, I believe that could be really helpful for her to look out for warning signs and just things to do as a parent going forward. And life skills training classes.
Okay. And then with that, would you also be asking for signed releases of information and maintaining contact with the department?
Yes, we would be.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing further. I pass this witness.
All right, Ms. Archer.
Miss Denicky, do you know if Priscilla if she's already in counseling?
She was not at the time I last spoke to her. She had talked about possibly setting it up through Family Support Services, but I haven't received any confirmation from her that she did follow through.
Has she done services for St. Francis before?
She was in family-based safety services with CPS. I don't think she's done it with St. Francis.
Do any of those services that she completed before, are they the same as what you're asking her to complete?
I would have to go back and look at that. That would have been in 2022, though. And back in 2023, we have had other cases with allegations of drug use by her.
Does Miss Patino have a place to live?
Yes.
Have you seen that residence?
Yes.
Okay. Did it have running utilities?
Yes.
Did it have plenty of food?
Yes.
Were there any safety hazards that you were concerned about?
No.
And does Miss Patino have a job?
No.
Yes.
Do you know, you mentioned family services. Do you know if they're willing to help her pay rent?
I do not know.
Regarding the alleged abuse, is she the one who took in initially?
Yes.
So does she seem like she's on top of the situation?
Currently, no.
Do you know if she's asked for a protective order against Santiago?
She said she had.
Did she take him off the daycare pickup list?
Yes.
Did she tell you that she doesn't hang out with anyone who does meth anymore?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Morales?
Thank you. Ms. Dennehy, you said that there's criminal charges pending. I don't find any on Odyssey. How are you aware that criminal charges are pending?
Law enforcement was going to present charges to the DA of either indecency with a child or aggravated assault of a child. I don't know if they have presented those or not.
And you're not aware, so therefore you're not aware whether or not the DA accepted any charges.
Correct.
And during the child standing exam, there was no evidence of any trauma found, correct?
Correct.
And likewise, during an extensive bridge interview, she made no outcry, correct?
She did not make an outcry during her bridge interview. She did make an outcry during her.
Thank you. That was my question. Now, was it reported to you that the only contact Mr. Florentino has had with the child was also in the presence of Miss Patino?
Yes.
And in fact, when the child slept with Mr. Florentino in the same bed, Priscilla was in between the two?
I've heard differently than that as
Okay.
well.
Well, who did you hear differently from? Miss Patino?
Yes.
Now, regarding Miss Patino, this is an individual who's had 3 separate CPS investigations prior to this one. Is that correct?
Yes.
And not only that, but during the course of your investigation in this case, did she not tell you that had she knew that CPS was going to get involved, she wouldn't have even called?
Yes.
Does that not concern you to not only her ability and willingness to protect her child, but her credibility as well?
Yes.
Did you take that to mean that if Santiago did in fact his daughter and she knew that CPS was going to get involved, she still would have reported it?
Yes.
Okay. And does that cause you concerns?
Yes.
And as of today, she has still refused to provide you a drug screen. Is that correct?
Correct.
And was it reported to you that while Mr. Florentino was incarcerated, that Mrs. Patino had several men in and out of her home?
Yes.
Do you have any reason to disbelieve that?
No.
And is it also reported to you that she calls her grandfather, I'm sorry, when I say she, I mean the child calls her grandfather daddy on occasion?
That was reported to me.
Were you able to verify that at all with any conversations with the child?
No, I was not.
I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Dennehy, in your conversations with mom, when did she say she had last used meth?
I believe she said it was around 3 weeks prior.
In your conversations with dad, when did he say he had last used meth?
About 2 weeks prior.
And both of them were given the opportunity to drug test to show whether they were clean at this point?
Yes.
And what was their response when asked?
They refused.
And when this case originally started, there were 3 children in the home?
Yes.
I want to make sure I've got it correct in terms of they are no longer in the home.
Correct.
Do you know, you had said that the visitation with Priscilla is now supervised. Do you have any details about when that is?
My understanding was that she has to set it up on her own through Family Support Services. I have not seen those court papers though.
But have you confirmed that those 2 children are no longer in the home?
Yes.
Setting aside the abuse allegations, are the drug concerns by themselves enough reason to want to work with this family?
Yes.
Am I in that home?
Yes.
I pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Groff?
Yeah, just a couple of brief follow-up questions, Your Honor. Thank you. Um, is it fair to say that the primary risk factors are the continued contact with the father despite his outcry, as well as the recent drug use admissions by the parents?
Yes.
Okay. And counsel was asking you about contact with the father. When was the most recent contact that you're aware of that the mother admitted to between her dad?
I cannot recall off the top of my head. Can I have a minute to look?
If it would refresh your recollection.
I'm not going to be able to recall the exact dates. It would have been around the beginning of June, over a weekend.
Okay. Do you recall sending me an email indicating June 9th and June 10th?
Yes.
Okay.
I recall sending that email.
Okay. Last question then is, counsel was asking you a question about the outcry, and you had indicated there was no outcry during the bridge interview, and he, I don't know if your response, I believe you were going to indicate there was an outcry made, and who was that outcry made to?
The sexual assault examiners?
Okay. And were you present or did you observe that interview?
I did not observe that, and I was not present.
Okay, but that was reported to you by the examiners?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Nothing further. Ask the witness.
Ms. Arthur?
Did you say my name?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to call my client.
Do you have any further questions for Ms.
No, I
Dennehy?
do not. No, I do not.
Mr. Morales, any further questions?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Zavala?
No, Your Honor.
All right, then. Okay. Then, Mr. Roth, any further witnesses from the department?
No, Your Honor, the state rests.
All right, Ms. Archer?
I'd like to call Priscilla
All right, you may
Bettino.
proceed.
Ms. Bettino, do you feel like you've been proactive in keeping safe?
Yes.
Are you already in counseling?
Yes, I have so they were booked, but they have openings within like a 1 to 2 week span. It's the only one in Amarillo.
So
I've
you
tried all of them.
already have an appointment set up.
Yes, and I have a meeting tonight at 7.
Who is that meeting with?
My first one. But that's for parenting classes. I also have parenting classes set up. The family services.
Okay.
I also
What
have a paper. I also have a paper from Family Services that they wrote out to me. It's basically stating that I'm doing all the services with them. You want me to read it to you?
No, I would like to know, can you tell me what other services they're providing, though, without
Yes,
reading it?
So it's domestic violence. So it has domestic violence classes. It has sex abuse classes, parenting classes, and counseling.
And are
And
they
they're also going to pay for my rent.
that was my next question.
Yes.
Do you have a
rent July?
Do you have a protective order in Santiago against Santiago in place?
No. So whenever they asked the CPS lady if I had asked for one, I asked her for one. That was
were they able
basically
to
at
help
the beginning.
Okay. Y'all are
No,
talking.
they referred me to family services, and that was it. And so whenever I had asked for that protective order and she denied me, that's when I denied services with CPS, because if they're trying to help me keep her safe, they should help me keep her safe and not refer me to anybody else. They want me to go through this, to go through that, to go through anything and everything, but they can't do anything for me. And honestly, hang on a minute. She offered.
Ms. Bettina, stop. I've been trying to get both of your attention for the last 2 minutes. You all are talking all over each other, so I'm not hearing everything. And trust me, you want me to hear everything. So your attorney is going to ask you questions. You're going to answer what she's asked, and only what she's asked. She will get to all this. I know there are things you want me to know, but there is a procedure for this. Okay? So
Yes, ma'am.
listen closely to her question. Answer only that. She'll ask you another question, and you can answer that. All right.
Okay.
I'm going to address, though, what you were saying about the department getting you a protective order. The department doesn't do that. Protective order is, there are some very specific ways protective orders are sought out, and it generally involves an attorney. Okay? I mean, there are certain protective orders that go in place automatically, you know, in certain situations. And then there are others that you have to actually retain an attorney or get help through legal services or something of that nature. The department is not your lawyer. So that's why
she had it.
That's why they have referred you to maybe another avenue to get that, because they are not your lawyer.
But then she told me a little bit after that her department was working on getting the process started for it. So that was kind of confusing, honestly.
Okay.
That was it, that they can't get it to me. And then a little bit further down the line, when I tell her about the incident, because whenever he came over here and she says that I let him in, he popped up out of nowhere. I have him blocked on all types of calls and messages.
Okay. Hang on. Ms. Patino, hang on. You just narrating and telling me all these things. This is not how it works in a court of law. Okay? The evidence comes out based on the questions and answers of parties. You don't get to just tell me everything you want to tell me. There are rules of evidence. There's rules that apply here. So I'm telling you, the department is not your attorney, and they don't represent parents in getting protective orders. She may have been talking about something else, but it's not a legal protective order. Okay? So just forget the departments that they're going to get a protective order for you, because it's not going to happen. Okay? Now, you have a lawyer now, Ms. Archer, who you can talk to about that. Okay? So you do have an avenue. It's perhaps what she was trying to tell you when you apply for a court-appointed attorney, and if you qualify, then your attorney might seek a protective order on your behalf. Okay? So, but that's different. All right, Ms. Archer, question and answer, please.
Ms. Patino, do you have a job?
Yes.
Where do you work?
Homoglow. It's a cleaning service.
And how long have you had that job?
Say like 3 days now.
Okay, and where do when you're at work?
I have her in daycare.
Okay, and did you remove Santiago off the pickup list from that daycare?
Yes.
Are you willing now to drug test for the department?
Yes, I even called her and explained to her on.
Okay, yes. Just a second. Just yes or no. Are you willing to drug test?
Yes.
Okay. And are you hoping the judge won't order all of the services because you're already receiving them?
Correct.
Okay. And is that through family support services?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Croft.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Ms. Patino. Just have a few questions. It sounds like you agree you can benefit from some of these services.
The one CPS is trying to provide?
Yeah.
No, because I'm doing it all by myself.
Right. But you can benefit from the services they're recommending, whether they offer them or you obtain them on your own, I guess is what I'm asking. Isn't that right?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Okay. So you signed up for individual counseling and a parenting class, correct?
Correct.
And those are services that the department is also recommending, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you're also willing to do drug testing, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that's another service that the department is asking for. So the only other thing that I see on this list that they're asking for is life skills training and a sexual abuse education class. Are you saying you're not willing to do either of those classes?
No, I have sex abuse.
Okay.
Go
ahead.
That's what family services is helping me with.
Okay. And isn't it true that you just signed up for these classes in the last 3 days?
No.
No? Well, you just indicated you just signed up for counseling. Isn't that right?
I had to just fill out the rest of the paperwork, but I had to talk to family services about a week ago.
Okay.
Maybe a week and a half.
And you just
family services was at the hospital.
Okay.
She went in to the sane.
My point is, you signed up for these services after the state got involved, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay. And So you also told the social worker that the father is manipulative, and you also expressed concerns about the sexual abuse allegations. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Okay. But you did continue to allow him to have contact, didn't you?
No.
You didn't?
No.
Okay, so you didn't allow him to have contact on the 9th or 10th of June?
No, I haven't. No.
So why did you tell the social worker that you had?
No. So what I told the social worker is that he did a pop-up, and I have him blocked on my phone number and other numbers that he contacts me off of. And I wasn't answering, and he couldn't get a hold of me, so he came to my door and was banging on the door like really hard. So then it scared me. So then I opened the door and sees him, and he just lets himself in. And then on top of it, like, that's what happened.
Okay. So last question, why did you refuse to sign the safety plan?
Because I don't feel as if CPS can help me in any part of the way. I felt like I could do it on my own and not have them around.
Okay. Thank you. Pass the witness.
Okay, Mr. Morales, any questions?
Yes, John. Ms. Patino, is it accurate that Santiago has never been with Matt alone?
No, he has been.
When?
He even kept her over weekends.
When was this?
I'm not too sure of the dates, but he also, so the 21st, I heard that he said that he was not around her at that time.
The
When he
21st
told the
of what,
police
last
that
month?
he hadn't seen. Yes. When this originally happened.
Okay.
But he was around her.
When did he
We were. Sorry.
When was he exercising weekend visits?
I mean, he's had multiple of them.
When?
More than, I'm not too sure. I can't really remember the dates right now.
Was this before or after his incarceration?
After.
What did you mean when you told the investigator that you don't want to be involved with CPS anymore? And had you known that CPS would be involved, then you wouldn't have reported anything to the hospital or the police. What did you mean when you said that?
I was mad and angry, honestly, because I'm over here trying to mentally, honestly, my daughter's going through it. I'm going through it. And then so basically it's just, I feel as if CPS just doesn't like the fact that I don't cooperate. So then they went through the links of having this whole court order going on. But at the same time, like, I'm already dealing with a lot, and they don't add any type of help to my life, but other than to tell me or like have over me some type of control.
Don't you think you might need a little bit of control? I mean, you've had 3 investigations and continued drug use.
I don't have any drug use. The last time I told her was 3 months ago, not 3 weeks ago.
That's
And
still,
that was
excuse me, Ms. Pino, that's still drug use that you had while you had care, custody, and control of your daughter. Is that not correct?
going with Santiago, and my other 2 were going with their dad, because I had my 2 just passed recently. I had my other 2, 1 week me, 1 week him. And that's what I don't even have. I went to go pick up my kids, and I couldn't even pick them up because he tells me no. And I don't get no type of court papers for them. I don't get no type of anything for them. So really, it's like a one-day switch from all of us being together to all of us not being together.
So does it still
I don't
hold
have
true
no
today does it still hold true today that if you could keep CPS out of this, you would have not have called in the first place?
Honestly, I would have still did the same thing, because whether or not CPS is involved, I wanted to literally protect my daughter is what I was going for. I didn't have no second thoughts, honestly. And her dad was taunting me, basically, well, if you really thought that, then you would take her to the hospital right then and there. But at the same time, when you're first going through this type of thing, you don't know what to do. There's no right or wrong, because honestly, I've never been through it, and I couldn't even talk about it because how disturbing it was to me. So then I'm confused on what to do. And then he's over here just, I mean, pushing it. And then finally I was just like, you know what, whatever. I didn't have my stuff together. And that's not what I was worried about. I was worried about her, and her coming forward and speaking up for herself, and me trying to protect her in any way possible that I could.
And you understand that when she was asked extensively about her abuse, she made no outcry to the bridge interviewer. You understand that?
Yes, but I do understand my daughter, and my daughter talks
Objection,
a lot.
non-responsive.
Sustained. Just listen to his question and answer only that.
Ms.
Yes, ma'am.
Patino, hypothetically, if you're accused and say you are a completely innocent of abuse of your child, would you still want to see your child?
That's irrelevant because I'm not.
Well, you brought
So
up the
what's the
fact, no,
purpose of that?
you brought up you opened this line of questioning whenever you said that Mr. Florentino has persisted and continued to try to see me.
He didn't try to see her.
I thought you said he came over to knock on the door and that's what he was wanting. And that he tried to get a
No,
hold
but
of
you're
you
talking
numerous
about
times when you blocked him.
Ms. Patino, quit interrupting him. Let him finish.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Morales. Ask the question again.
I thought it was your statement that he tried to get a hold of you numerous times after you had blocked him, that he eventually came over to see her twice. Was that not your testimony?
So how did we go from one thing to another though?
Ms.
Because you said this.
Patino, just answer.
I'm
his-
just confused.
Listen to his question and answer his question.
No,
Not
I'll withdraw. I'll pass
Do you
it.
know what's
all right. Ms. Ball?
Ms. Patino, earlier when Ms. Dinicky was talking about what you had told her about when you had last used, you spoke up and said, no, that wasn't correct. You're saying that it was 3 months ago?
3 months ago? So I just had a CPS case open and closed for detoxing. I called a helpline when I was detoxing, and then I even came forward with her to tell her all that. Sorry, I don't want to say too much. I don't know, but yes.
So, and you've already gone through rehab at least once, right?
Correct.
So what is your plan going forward to make sure that you're not using again?
Honestly, stay away from everybody. Be the mom that I know I could be. And really just stay strong for them because they're everything to me. And I've had my kids for their whole life, literally. And it was just me most of the time. And then their dad got their stuff together. So then he did all of this. But I admit to my wrongs when I did go to rehab and I did all the process for CPS. I admit that I was wrong back then and I got through services. So I wouldn't be scared to admit when I'm wrong now, but I'm not wrong now. And this has nothing to do with me.
Do you think it's important that Ed be able to live in a home that's drug free?
Yes.
Questions? All right. Ms. Archer?
I have no further witnesses.
Okay. Anybody else have any further questions?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Morales?
Your Honor, I call Santiago Florentino.
All right, Ms. Florentino, I feel obligated to admonish you that of your Fifth Amendment rights, even though this is not a criminal proceeding, anything that you say in this proceeding could potentially be used against you if you are charged. I understand that it sounds like that has not happened yet, but the mere fact that that could happen, you need to be mindful of what the Constitution says. You have certain rights. Do you understand what the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution is, sir, or what it says?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. It's your privilege against self-incrimination. In other words, you are not required to give any evidence against yourself or any testimony against your interest. So I think that admonishment is appropriate to give you at this point in time, even though charges have not been filed. So that will be, at this point, then, between you and your attorney, what you do answer or do not answer. All right, then, Mr. Morales, you may proceed.
Mr. Florentino, when were you released from TDCJ?
February 12th.
Of this year?
2000. Yes, sir.
How long were you incarcerated?
25 months.
And did you have any significant visitation with your daughter prior to your incarceration?
No.
This would have been when she was a baby. Do you recall having her any at all independently?
Yeah. Like keeping her by myself.
Yes.
She was younger. Yeah.
Do you remember how frequent that was?
Not it wasn't too frequent. I mean, it was because she's always been with her mom. So she's.
When you were released in February, did you contact Ms. Patino or did she contact you?
She contacted me.
And did she express that she wanted you to get back in contact with your daughter?
I think it was more of her trying to get back with me, like. But my plan was not to go around her.
Now, Ms. Florentino, once you were released, where were you residing?
At my brother's.
How long did you live there?
I'd say 2 to 3 months.
And after that, is that when you moved into the Quality Inn?
No, I had moved to my cousin's.
Okay, how long were you there?
Like 6 to 8 months.
6 to 8 months, but you were released this February, no?
Yeah.
Okay, so when did you move into the Quality Inn?
I moved to here a couple months ago.
And you work there as well?
Yes, sir.
What do you do there?
I do maintenance and all of the above, really.
What are your hours of operation?
Usually it's like 8 to 9 to 2 or 3.
Okay. And is that 7 days a week, basically just when they need you?
Right, on call. Yes, sir.
Do you get paid in addition to your free stay, or do you just get a free stay?
No, I do get paid.
Okay. How much do you get paid?
$10 an hour.
What's your visits been like with your daughter since you've been released?
Well, like, as in, how they've been whenever I had her.
Yeah, you know what? That was a poor question. Let me rephrase that. How many visits do you think you've had with your daughter since you've been released?
I'd say I've had quite a bit. There's been times where I couldn't get her on the weekend, but I would try to get her every weekend. I would try to. But
And Miss Patino was allowing you to do that?
yes, sir.
Did she stay with you whenever you exercised your visits?
Who's that?
Miss Patino?
No.
Okay. Did she ever stay with you while you had your daughter?
Yes.
And how often was that?
It was it wasn't too often, but it was often. She didn't really there for a minute. She didn't trust me to take myself.
Now this report, this affidavit in support of court ordered services. It alleges that you reported that both you and Miss Patino had smoked methamphetamines since your release sometime this year. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you're not denying the fact that you've used methamphetamine since you've been released?
Correct.
And you know that regardless of the outcome of any criminal investigation, that's an issue that you need to address, right?
Yes, sir.
Are you willing to work some services in order to take care of that?
Yes, sir.
You and I had an extensive conversation yesterday about the affidavit in support. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And today, are you asking the court to continue to allow your contact with?
Yes, sir.
Now, if your hair follicle comes back or your drug screen comes back positive, you understand you're probably going to be restricted. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
But if you come back with a negative hair follicle and a negative UA, are you asking the court to grant you a standard possession order?
Yes, sir.
And are you aware that no outcry during her bridge interview?
I was informed yesterday that
you're also aware that there was no evidence of trauma found during her SANE exam?
Yes, sir.
And have you already cooperated with law enforcement in regard to that investigation?
Yes, sir.
And you've made a statement to them?
I did.
And you told them that you're going to be willing to cooperate in any which way that they ask you?
Yes, sir.
And they haven't asked you yet, to do a polygraph examination or anything, but you've indicated that you're willing to cooperate with them?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You have anything to hide?
No, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, I'll pass the witness.
Okay, Mr. Groff.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a couple of questions, Mr. Florentino. The incarceration for which you were released in February, that was not for a drug charge, correct?
No, sir.
Okay. And, but you did, in fact, tell the social worker, Ms. Denicky, at least the time that you met with her, that your most recent use at that point in time was about 2 weeks earlier, correct?
Around that time, yes.
Okay. And then, although not make an outcry during a bridge interview, you are aware that she did make an outcry to the sexual assault exam nurse, Ms. Scroggins, or at least you understand that's been reported?
Yes, I understand that.
Okay. And you did indicate that you've had contact with her since your release from prison?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing further. Ask the witness.
Okay, Ms. Archer,
No questions.
Ms. Zavala.
I have no questions, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Morales, any further questions for him?
No further questions, no further witnesses, Your Honor, addressed.
Okay. All right, Ms. Zavala, any witnesses today?
No witnesses, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Zavala, do you have a recommendation to make?
I do, Your Honor. I do believe that this family could very much benefit from working services. I do believe that that would be in his best interest, and the other two children for whatever time they may be in the home in the future.
And Ms. Zavala, do you have a recommendation regarding Mr. Florentino's access to the child?
Your Honor, at this time, I don't feel comfortable. I don't know that I've got enough information. How it may be possible that visitation in a supervised manner may be very appropriate. I am not sure, I believe, it sounds like from the testimony, that there's still an ongoing investigation, and I think it would be important to make sure we hear the results of that investigation.
Before he's permitted contact?
At the very least, before unsupervised contact.
Okay.
I think.
I understand. Okay.
Can I say something?
No, ma'am. Do you need to speak with your attorney?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Archer, let me put you in a breakout room with her. You just want to present an argument?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. Everybody's rested, so everybody close at this point in time, and I'll permit argument.
You want me to proceed first?
Okay. Mr. Groff, what's your preference?
I have no objection, Your Honor. If she wants to go first, I don't mind going last.
All right, Ms. Archer.
Judge, my client, Ms. Patino, would request that she not be ordered to do services. She feels like she wasn't even on the radar of CPS until she did the right thing by taking to the Northwest Hospital to be examined. You know, she took the possible perpetrator off the pickup list for daycare. She's gotten a job. She feels like she's trying to do all the right things on her own, and she would like a chance to do that before the department gets involved. Thank you.
All right, then Mr. Morales, any argument?
Your Honor, as my client, I guess in opposition to Ms. Patino, he understands there is issues with both of them, and he is willing to work services. However, he wants as much visits as possible. I do understand and respect Ms. Zavala's request to wait until the case decides whether or not the DA is going to accept it, but we also know that can take months in itself. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that the department would ask that this child be isolated from the father for several months when there's no outcry during the bridge interview, no evidence of trauma during the SANE exam. We have a mother with significant credibility issues admits that she wouldn't have even reported if she knew that CPS was going to get involved. She doesn't want to work services so badly that she's willing to allow her daughter to be abused, apparently. Your Honor, that lends me at least to significant concerns to her credibility, the potential for coaching of the daughter. And obviously she has some issues with Mr. Florentino. Your Honor, and that's why we're asking that if the court is to order services, we just give Mr. Florentino visits as quickly as possible, and definitely as much as he can for the time being, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. Okay, and Ms. Zavala, any further argument to make? All
Nothing further other than my previous recommendation.
right, Mr. Croft?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just briefly, it sounds like both parents agree that the family can benefit from services. We believe that the case presented demonstrates exactly why services should be ordered. With particular with regard to the mother, it appears that she sort of opened, from her perspective, opened a Pandora's box and now wants to shut it and do services on her own. But it also sounds like she didn't sign up for any of these services until the state essentially intervened. And so we think that this case can benefit from ongoing court supervision as being in the child's best interest. Appreciate Dad's perspective and Dad's candor about willingness to participate with services. I kind of agree with Mr. Morales in part, and I agree with Ms. Zavala. I think the state would like to see the criminal investigation proceed before contact is allowed. However, if the court were to deem contact sooner to be appropriate, we would ask that it be supervised while that investigation proceeds. So that's our position this morning, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Croft. I do find that there's a substantial risk of abuse or neglect and a continuing danger to the physical health or safety of the child, and that services are necessary to protect the child. The drug use, the admitted drug alone is causing us for concern. Methamphetamine is a very highly addictive drug, very difficult for people to, on their own, without some pretty serious professional intervention, to ever get away from it, to get free of it. You know, people get free, they may go a year or two, they relapse. I mean, it is a very addictive substance. And I mean, that alone in this case was serious cause for concern. In fact, when I read the removal, I sort of wondered why it wasn't a legal removal, to be quite honest. But I am going to go along with the order to participate request. I'm going to order services that have been requested by the department. Now, for the family code, mom can certainly select some of her service providers, and I'm going to permit her to work services to the department so that they can see that information and see what kind of progress we're making. Any other services will be offered through the department. In other words, whatever family support doesn't offer, that'll be through the department. All right, I'm also going to order Mr. Florentino to work the requested services, and I am going to grant him supervised access with the child 2 hours a week, and that will be supervised by the department. And that will be continue until either the district attorney refuses these charges or further order of the court. So, you know, Mr. Florentino.
How does that fail?
Ms. Bettino, hang on. Mr. Florentino, the reality is, if you are charged in this matter, in all likelihood, you're going to have a bond condition that will not permit you any contact with the child. So, you know, this is not a criminal proceeding, and I'm going to find at this time supervised access is safe for the child, and so you have the opportunity to maintain that relationship. Doesn't mean that some other court down the line might interrupt that, and I just have no control over that. All right.
Can I say something? Can I please say something?
Ma'am, as long as you're not going to argue with what I've already ruled, because that's the ruling and it's done.
Okay. Can I ask you one quick question?
Okay.
Have you ever met the child?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Have you ever dealt with a mental state of that child?
Well, I've dealt with the mental state of many children, ma'am, but
No. Okay, we're not doing any. We're doing my child. Have you ever dealt with my child's mental state?
Ma'am, I have not, but during the course of this case, Ms. Zavala will. She reports directly to me. I may even meet and talk with your child during this case.
So y'all are random strangers, and y'all.
I'm muting you. I'm muting you. You're talking over me. I obviously have not met your child because we are at the very beginning of this case, but it's very likely that I will meet with the child at some point in time. Okay. All right. That will conclude today's hearing. Ms. Archer, if you need a breakout room with her, I can certainly put you back in there, or if you just are going to call her to visit with her, whichever you want to do.
I'll call her after lunch.
All right. Okay. Then I'm going to be in recess for about 15 minutes until our next hearing begins. So, all right, we are everybody that's in this case that doesn't need to stay with me, you're free to go. We are conducting this through Zoom, and we are live streaming, and I'm recording to the Zoom cloud today as I don't have a court reporter. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We're present ready.
Your Honor, I'm Tate Aldridge. I represent the mother, Kayla Price, on 9, and we're both present ready.
Bailey Sapien on behalf of respondent father Dominic Cervantes in 6. My client is present and we're ready to proceed.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of the children.
Mr. Trout, any announcements to make, or are we getting ready to just call it? And
We're just gonna call it and do testimony.
okay. Who's your first witness?
I'll call Kayla Price first, Your Honor. And you are aware of why we're here today?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you've been kind of working with the department for quite a few months now, is that correct?
Yes, sir, since February.
Okay. And we have not removed the children up until this point, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There were some safety plans put in place with you, correct?
Yes, sir.
Were those safety plans violated?
Yes, sir.
Now, what led to this was an incident and kind of involving the kids being in a car with you and chasing some people. Is that why the intake was called in?
Yes, but they said that the removal was due to marks that I didn't explain on the children, and those marks were explained. I do have hospital paperwork, but the incident with the car was investigated by Amarillo Police Department. There was a body cam footage from the police officer and a 911 call.
Okay, hang on, Ms. Price. All right, let's get some ground rules real quick. All right, you need to listen to what he's asked you and answer only that. Okay. This goes question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. So just answer only what he's asked for.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Stratch, you can ask your next question.
Thank you, Judge. So there was an incident with a car.
Yes, sir.
And the children were in the car.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you agree to not be around Anthony Campbell?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you allowed him around?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And was there a plan that Dad Dominic Cervantes was not allowed to take the children by himself?
Yes, sir.
And you allowed that?
No, sir.
Did he ever take the children by himself while you were under safety plans?
No, sir.
Was he ever around the children during that time?
No, sir.
Okay. Have you been in contact with Anthony Campbell or any of his family members since the removal?
No, sir.
Have you sent messages to people, text messages?
Yes, sir.
Okay. To people in his family?
Yes, sir. Yeah, his mother. Yes, we talked.
Okay. Anybody else?
No, sir. I've talked to Anthony, yes, because I'm pregnant, but we haven't been with each other, if that makes sense.
Okay. Have you showed up to Anthony's mother's work?
No, sir.
You've not been to the hotel that she works at?
No, sir.
And his sister Tay?
His sister, he came to my apartment, which the police were called. He came to my apartment with his sister Tay, and the cops were called over here.
Okay. What messages have you sent out to his mother?
There was one about my daughter having a heart murmur, and that was it. Okay. We talked briefly about that, but she said that what's it called? That both of her kids had them, and we just had a short conversation.
Okay. Any messages to any of his mother's friends?
No, sir.
Okay. Judge, I'm going to attempt to share something on the screen real quick.
Okay, let me enable it.
Okay. Is this you?
Yes, sir.
And who did you send this to?
I have that. I posted that on Snapchat before and on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay. And is this you pointing a pistol?
Yeah, but it's fake. You could get it at the flea market just like that. So
do the people you know that you sent this to know that?
Objection. It calls for speculation.
All right, sustain.
To your personal knowledge, is there any way for anybody to know that that is a fake gun?
I mean, you could tell it's fake, but I guess not. I don't know. I don't know how. I mean, you could tell by a picture. I posted it on Facebook. That picture is old of me, but I've posted that picture on Facebook, Snapchat. I believe it's still on my Instagram stories to this day. I still have it uploaded.
And is this the text messages you sent it to?
So, Your Honor, I'm going to object unless we have a time parameters here and we know.
What? And
Yeah.
that's what I'll ask, Your Honor.
Okay.
I can't even see anything. Like, it's so zoomed out. So is there any way you can like zoom in on it?
And Judge, I'm not sure if I can zoom this in or not.
And obviously the picture is from Snapchat. So, I mean, I don't even know. I have never even sent the picture to anybody, except it's been posted all over my social media.
So again, Your Honor, I object unless this has some direct affiliation with the children or the mother of this case. I mean, you could pull up Facebook posts for lots of people that say lots of things. That doesn't have anything to do with custody of a child.
Your Honor, it goes to her actions and the way that she acts. And I'll ask if this is her phone number at the top, showing that it is a text message from her.
Yes, sir. That is my phone number, but you can edit a contact to be any phone number you want. You can spoof any phone number you want. Like I said, that picture is months old and it's posted all over my social media. And obviously, whoever texted it, she said, "Bitch, you're weird. You make up a lie."
Objection, Your Honor. I'm not asking her to read it right now.
All right.
I just want to know, is it from her phone number?
Yes, that is my cell phone number. Yes, sir, that is my phone number. But like I said, you could change a phone number on any app you want to make it the contact number.
Objection, Your Honor, non-responsive.
Sustain. Ms. Price.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Question was, is that from your phone?
I never sent that picture to nobody. So.
All right.
So you did not have the conversation in these text messages?
No. That's why I'm saying that picture is from a long time ago. It's posted all over my social media.
Okay. Sorry, Your Honor, I got to get this to cut off real quick. So throughout this case, we have worked with you as far as safety plans. That is correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you worked some services?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you start counseling?
Yes, sir.
And who did you do counseling with?
I do counseling with Christy Paddock.
Okay. How many sessions have you done with her?
3.
Okay. And you've done some parenting classes?
Yes, sir.
And you've done, was it 24 to 6 sessions of parenting? Is that right?
I've done Hope Choice and I'm still doing Love and Logic.
Okay. All right. How many sessions of the Love and Logic have you done?
I can't count. I'm sorry.
Okay. And so you agreed to work under the safety plans with the department, but you broke those safety plans?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And during the incident with the car and Anthony Campbell, were the kids in car seats?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So multiple people saying that they were not is not correct?
No, sir.
And what was that about?
I had dropped Anthony off at his mother's house and he had my house key, and I went to my mother's for a little bit and then I went to go pick him up, but he had the house key and he wasn't answering.
Ms.
I
Price?
waited.
Ms. Price?
I was waiting right there because I told Destiny, I was like, I don't have no, like, I can't even get into the house. And
Price? Ms. Price? Can you hear me?
Yeah, her video stopped on my end.
Okay, we lost her.
So, Your Honor, I've got a little bit of an issue if we're going to go down this path that I'll need to talk to my client, if you don't mind. So if we're going to get into details of this allegation, there's a police investigation. My client's been told there are going to be no charges filed But if we're going to elicit testimony about it, I'm going to have to tell her until I know that it's completely closed out, that she can't answer any questions related to the specific incident. I'll let her answer about what was it about. But as far as anything after that, I've got to stop that based on the Fifth Amendment grounds of self-incrimination. I don't think there's any case out there, but I don't know that for sure.
All right, let me see if she's logging in on the phone. Okay, Ms.
Hello?
Price. Okay,
Hello?
Ms.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know what's going on with my phone.
Okay, hang
I
on.
don't know. I can hear all y'all, but y'all can hear me.
No, you were breaking up very badly. So I'm going to have Mr. Trout ask his last question again, and then you can answer that. So, because we couldn't understand you. And if
Yes.
you may have to turn your video off just to keep your audio strong.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Let's try it.
Okay.
All right. Okay, Mr. Trout, you'll ask your question again.
Yes, ma'am. I believe I asked, what was that incident about?
Okay. Yes, sir. Anthony had my house keys, and I went to his mother's house to get them, and I called Destiny. Destiny said that he wasn't there, that he had left as soon as I dropped him off. So I was waiting right there. I kept calling him. Well, he said the keys are in my mailbox. Well, I was right there by the mailbox, and I checked the mailbox. There was no keys in the mailbox. As I was going to pull off, a white Chrysler had sideswiped me, and then I had called 911, told 911 that the car had sideswiped me, and she told me, don't follow them. And I said, well, they're already trying to take off. And then
Okay.
when we got
All right. So, Your Honor, I object to anything further than that.
Okay. All right. Ms. Price, your attorney has got concerns about your Fifth Amendment rights, since this potentially could result in some sort of criminal charge. Until all that is resolved, you have a right not to incriminate yourself under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution of the United States and under the Texas Constitution. So you have the right to decline to answer anything that might incriminate you. You understand that?
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, Mr. Trout, you can go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. And you said you called 911 and the car started pulling off.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you follow the car?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You said kids were in child seats.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, Your Honor, can I want to vote on this is Zoom, so this is difficult. I want to either speak to my client in private, or I want to object and stop any further questions about what happened after that. He can ask questions about the kids. I don't mind that, but I don't want to go any further without invoking the Fifth Amendment right here.
All right, let me look back with her in a breakout room real quickly.
Okay.
That's
sorry.
fine, Judge. And I'm going to be moving on from that. I just wanted to clarify on those couple of things.
Okay, Mr. Eldridge, you still want to talk to her real quickly?
No, if we'll move on, it's fine. I just don't want her to go into any further detail, please.
Okay. All right, then.
Thank you, Honor. Ms. Price, do you use drugs of any kind?
No, sir.
Marijuana?
No, sir.
Cocaine?
No, sir.
Have you ever tested positive for anything?
Yes, sir.
What was that?
I tested positive for a cocaine metabolite and marijuana.
Okay. And when was that?
I believe April 18th.
Okay. But your testimony is that you don't use?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would you have any explanation for why those would have come back positive?
No, sir. I don't have an explanation because I was actually in the hospital the whole entire week because I was pregnant. So,
yeah.
Don't know.
And are you currently pregnant?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the father of that baby is Anthony Campbell, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll pass the witness at this time, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Eldridge.
Okay. Kayla, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you and I talked about this. Have you had any other, you knew about this positive test. What did you do after that?
That same day that I was called about the positive mouth swab test, I had asked Elaine to bring another mouth swab test, that I would do another one. She told me that her supervisor advised them not to. Instead, I was sent for, I believe, a UA and hair follicle. I went to Care Express that same day and took them, and they both came back negative.
Okay, so the hair follicle test was negative. The day it came back positive on the swab.
Yes, sir.
And then have you been direct tested throughout your pregnancy, blood work, any of that kind of stuff?
Yes, sir.
Any of those come back positive?
No, sir.
Okay. Are you willing to go take a hair follicle and or urinalysis today?
Yes, sir.
All right. So you've had these safety plans and then you violated those. Why'd you violate them?
My first safety plan was for my kids to go with Dominic when the initial case was opened. There was a lot of conflict with the mother-in-law of Dominic, Melissa, and she had called me one day, told me that, you know, things were rough at the house where the kids were at. That same day, I had took a lie detector test at the police department, which came back that none of us were suspects in the child abuse case. And I went to go pick up my kids from daycare because Melissa told me that she was not going to get involved with CPS. She was not going to call CPS. And so I took my kids back. They called the police on me, and the police told me since there was no court order in place, I mean, that there was nothing that they could do. And then I was given another safety plan for the kids to stay away from my grandma and Anthony. And then I did break that because I found out I was pregnant by Anthony. And then I had a safety plan when the mouse swab came back for them to stay with my mother. And we were at my mother's house, and my mom didn't know I was pregnant yet at the time. And she was asking me, you know, are you seriously doing drugs like cocaine and marijuana? That's serious. And I told her, I was like, no, you know why? Because I'm freaking pregnant. I'm not doing nothing, Mom. And she got in a big fight with me because I was pregnant. And she was against the fact that, you know, Anthony is Black. So she was already very upset about that. She told me I was pregnant with the Black baby.
Kayla, I have to break it up here. I'm supposed to ask a question, you answer the question. We can't just talk.
Okay.
So you agree you violated safety plans. Now this is different. Now this is a court order. The judge is going to tell you what services you have to do. You've done some services. Are you willing to do whatever services are asked at this point in time?
Yes, sir. I'll do whatever it takes to have my son's home. Yes, I will do whatever it is.
Okay. And so even if you're pregnant by Mr. Campbell, if he's not allowed to be around you, that means you can't be around him at all. You get that?
Yes, sir.
All right. You wanted to talk to the judge. So why is it that you want your kids? What are you asking the judge to do? Let me put it that way.
I just want my son, Devin and Dominic, both of them, to be able to come home with me where I feel like they belong. I know that I've broken safety plans, but I never had an intention when I broke the safety plan to harm my kids. I've never harmed my kids. I've never ever in my life harmed my kids. I've made mistakes and I've owned up to that, but I know what's best for my children, and I've told the department several times that I didn't have to listen to them, and now I know that it's very serious, and this is the repercussions from my own actions, but I really would just want my children to come back home with me.
Okay. Now, you brought it up a minute ago. There was some bruising on one or both of your kids. Is that right?
My son Dominic just had a little bruise on his back, but Devin, yes, he did have bruising. Okay.
Well, describe the bruising.
My son had two linear. Well, he didn't have linear. He had two round bruises in just odd spots. He did have a bite mark on his face from my 2-year-old son, and some older bite marks that were healing on his back. My 2-year-old son has behavioral delays, speech delays, and cognitive delays. He is going to counseling with early childhood intervention, also a service provided by the department, which they were well aware. They knew of his biting problem, which has now gotten way better since way before all this has happened. But he was going through therapy and everything, and the department knew about him having a problem with biting, but it's not like the bites were unexplained.
Okay. So when you saw these bruises have come up in this case, what did you do?
I sent Elaine a picture when my son got bit, and then when Becky came out, the day, I guess Monday, I sent him to school. I had a meeting with my older son's teacher, my 2-year-old son's teacher. I told her if he's being bad, what's going on at school, because he's starting to bite again at home, and it had been a while since he bit. And they said no.
Kayla, so I'm kind of taking medically. What did you do?
I took my son to the hospital. Yes, when he had the scratch underneath his eye. Yes, I took my son to the hospital.
Okay. And has there been any sort of doctor that has said that these bruises were inappropriate for the kids that your children?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. Did you cause the bruising, or any adult cause any of those bruises?
No, sir.
Okay, these are just kids. I mean, you
Yes,
got a
they're
hater, I
they're
guess,
ta-
but other than
they're
that, kids being kids.
yes, kids being kids, normal childhood activity.
All right. Okay. And so you've completed one set of parenting classes, right? The entire,
Yes, sir.
that's the Hope Choice. You fully completed that one, I believe, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
And
sir.
you're in the middle of working on the Love and Logic. You don't know how
Yes,
many.
I don't know how many I took and I don't know how long it is. I think that they just told me till whenever CPS says I'm done. So I have missed some. But you know, you can always jump in on the next class and make it all up. I have been completing them though. It's just
All
at an odd time in the night.
And you're going to complete that. Is that right? You don't
Yes,
mind
sir.
completing?
I'm going to continue to take them. Yes, sir.
All right. The counseling with Christy Paddock, you've done 3 of 6 of those, I believe. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
So why haven't you finished those, and when can you get them finished?
She was just on vacation. I'm just waiting for her to get, she said that since she was filling back up everybody that she had missed while she's out. So I'm just waiting for her to get back to me with the schedule.
Okay. Where do you live?
I live at,
Okay. Has CPS been able to get into your apartment, take a look at it?
they've came to my apartment several times.
And you'll allow them access to your apartment?
Yeah, they can come here whenever they want. I've told them that several times.
Well,
I've
you've
always
refused it before as well, right?
There was maybe a couple times I did refuse it before, but that's when they were trying to remove the kids. They came with the cops and all that. And I talked to the officers on the phone. The officers called me and they let me know what was going on. And I told them if they feel like my kids are being neglected, they can call.
Non-responsive.
All
Thank
right.
you. Yes.
So, but my point is, you have to let them into your apartment. You can't say no, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other services the judge says you do, whether you like it or not, you're going to do those, right?
Yes, sir.
In the meantime, are you asking for your kids to be returned home while you complete your services?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Sapien, any questions?
Yes, Judge.
Okay.
Ms. Price, do you have a job?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you do for work?
I now just started working at Caprock Home Health. I'm a caregiver.
Okay. And what is your schedule at Caprock Home Health?
Right now it's from 8:15 a.m. to I work till 11:45, and then I have another client only on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 12:15 to 2:45. After that, I'm off.
Okay, so if the children were returned to you, who would watch them while you were working?
I can I've also let my job know about the situation. So until I could get them back into daycare, I would just stay home with them. Previously, they were going to the Wesley Community Center before removal.
And Mr. Dominic Cervantes is the father of which child?
He's the father of Devin.
Has Mr. Cervantes been involved in Devin's life since he was born?
Yes, ma'am.
Has he consistently been around the child?
Since all this stuff has happened with the safety plan, no, he hasn't been able to be consistently around them.
Before CPS became involved with your family, was Mr. Cervantes involved with his son?
Yes.
Did he provide support to you in any way?
Yes, he paid child support, but that he recently got a job that took it out of his check, but he would buy stuff for them. And
if the judge names the department as temporary managing conservator today, do you have any concerns about Mr. Cervantes having supervised visits with your son?
no, he's already had supervised visits with my son.
I'll pass the witness.
Okay. Ms. Zavala?
Ms. Price, you talked about some bruising on Devin. Isn't it correct that he's had multiple bruises over multiple months?
Yes, ma'am, but he also has several incident reports from both daycares. He got hurt a lot at daycare, but the bite marks, yes, he's had several, not several at a time, but he's had a bite mark here and there. And Devin has a low platelet count, which also causes him to bruise fairly easily.
Was there ever any explanation as to the multiple linear bruises on his back and side?
Are you talking about Dominic Jr., not Devin? Junior had the linear bruising on his back.
Sorry, you are correct. Yes. Was there ever any explanation as to that?
No, ma'am. Me, Deborah Price, and Anthony Campbell, we went to take a lie detector at Amarillo Police Department, and we all passed the lie detector test. But to this day, I've had no contact with my grandmother because she was supervising him at the time, and I still don't have a clear explanation of what happened.
Without going into detail at all about the incident with the card, do you believe you acted appropriately at that time?
No, ma'am.
I pass the witness.
Okay, Mr. Trout?
Ms. Price, you just answered that you didn't believe you answered appropriately. Is that correct?
She said if I acted appropriately.
Yes. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Had you already taken some of your parenting classes at that time?
Yes.
Is part of parenting classes how to correctly parent and appropriately handle situations with the children?
Yes, sir.
Did you learn anything from that class?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And yet you still admittedly acted inappropriately in this situation?
Yes, sir.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Nothing.
Mr. Ball?
No further questions.
All right. Mr. Trout, you can call your next witness.
Call Dominic Cervantes, Your Honor.
And Your
Yes,
Honor,
sir.
if you could please admonish my client as to his Fifth Amendment rights also.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. All right. You understand you have certain constitutional rights to not incriminate yourself in anything that would have to do with the criminal case.
Of course, yes, ma'am.
Okay. You understand your right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If at some point in time you wish to invoke that right, you just need to let me know. Okay.
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 Mr. Cervantes, would you state your full name for the record, please?
Dominic Cervantes.
And you're the father to Devin, is that correct?
Biologically, yes, but I'm the father to both of them.
Okay, but biologically,
Yes,
you're
biologically, yes, Devin.
Okay. Are you currently on deferred probation out of Carson County?
Yes, sir, I am currently.
And is that for possession of a controlled substance?
Marijuana pen, yes, sir.
Okay. And you received 3 years deferred on that, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when did that start?
I say about 6 months ago. Honestly, I couldn't really tell you.
Does
How long it's been?
Does February 13th of 2024 sound correct?
I couldn't say if that's correct or not, because like I said, I don't know when it started,
Okay.
but I know I haven't been on it long.
Okay. Are you also on bond out of Randall County?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is that for a domestic violence case?
Yes, sir.
And that is a felony domestic violence, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And is there also do you also have a charge pending out of Potter County?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. One second, Your Honor, I'm sorry. You're not aware that there's currently a case, a misdemeanor terroristic threat with Ms. Price named as the victim?
Yes, that was supposed to be taken care of with the last case that got dismissed about everything, but my lawyer's still trying to figure it out. So
Okay. But you are aware you have that case?
well, now that you mentioned it, yes. Like now that you said what it was, yes, sir, I do.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Eldridge,
I don't have any questions for Mr. Cervantes, Your Honor.
Ms. Second.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Cervantes, are you currently working?
Yes, ma'am.
Where are you working at?
I'm self-employed. I do like odd jobs, concrete, flooring, tile, walls.
How often do you work?
Well, I'd say majority of the week.
And do you agree with Ms. Price that you provide support for Dominic?
Yes, ma'am, no doubt. And Evan.
Were you present for Ms. Price's testimony?
Yes, ma'am. I heard what she was talking about.
Okay. And where do you want your son to be?
I mean, I'd want him home. I understand, his mom don't make the right choices every now and then, but she is a good person, you
And
know,
so
so like,
when you say
I
you want him home, are you saying with you or with Miss Price?
I'm saying whatever is best in the court's eyes for them to be home. And I'm not just talking about Devin. I understand Devin is my biological kid, but I'd want both of them.
You want the brothers to remain together?
Dominic, yes. And it's not even just that, you know, that's, yeah, they're brothers, like you said.
If the court finds today, Dominic, that there is a continuing danger to the children, are you willing to work services?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And would you
I
like
work
to,
services, both of them.
okay, would you like to have visitation?
Yes, ma'am, with both of them.
And do you understand that that will probably need to be supervised?
I mean, that's fine for the time being. I understand, you know, there's stipulations for that, but like, I have nothing to do with anything she was talking about.
Okay, and that's my next question.
I've been blindsided with this too, you know, so like, I'm upset about it, but at the same time, my kids don't need, you know, they don't need to be taken.
So in regards to the allegations of this CPS case that you have heard today, you haven't committed any of those offenses against the children. Is that correct?
No, ma'am. It's all love and care for them when I got them.
Any of the charges that Mr. Trout talked to you about, do any of those charges involve your children?
No, ma'am.
Do they involve anyone else's children?
No, ma'am.
Are those charges in relation to adults?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness.
Okay, Ms. Vaughn?
I have no questions at this time.
Good. All right, Mr. Trump?
I'll pass this witness, Your Honor. No further questions.
Okay, anybody else have any further questions for Mr. Cervantes?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay. Go right
So,
ahead.
Mr. Cervantes, you were saying, I believe, that Miss Price is a good person. Is that what you were trying to say?
Yes, sir. That's what I said.
Okay. And would you consider her to be a good mother generally?
For the most part, yes. I mean, I know when the kids act up, you know, they need a little stern discipline, which, you know, however y'all want to see that. But she don't, you know, and yeah, she's a good mom.
When you said you want them home, what you meant is you want them home back with her, but you don't want to lose your visitation. Isn't that what you were saying?
I want them home either with her or me.
Okay.
Both of them.
All
and
right.
if she has a better chance of getting both of them, then of course.
Okay. Do you have any concerns about your kids if they were returned home with Kayla?
No, Your Honor, just as long as I get my rights as a father.
Okay. I mean, do you have any concerns about Kayla hurting your kids or doing anything damaging to your kids if the kids are returned home to her?
Kayla's never spanked some kids. I don't think she'll hurt them. And I think the stuff that happened with Dominic Jr. was a dog. That's just me believing what I believe. But, you know, they made a big deal about it. I had to take them over. So, like, it's just, you know, it's all messy, all of it.
Okay. Sorry about that. All right. So that's all I have, Your Honor. I'll pass the witness. And I'm sorry about my phone. I didn't realize it was on. I got it off now.
Oh, no problem. All right. Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Cervantes?
I have just a couple, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead.
Mr. Cervantes, and saying that you would like the children with you, do you
Yes,
have a home?
Currently, no, but I will, you know, in like within 2 weeks. Maybe
Okay.
just this week. Yeah, probably. I could tomorrow.
Are you living with someone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Who are you living with?
I'm living with my brother, Sergio. I don't know the direct address, but I know it's
Okay, and that's okay. I don't want the address. We're on YouTube, so don't give that out.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness. No further questions.
Mr. Cervantes, I want to just ask you a couple questions. You are the father to Devin, correct?
Biologically, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you are not the biological father of Dominic. Is that correct?
You couldn't tell him that, but yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I mean, you acknowledge that there is someone else who is the father of that child.
I mean, obviously, yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, just wanting to make sure that all that was
He's
clear.
still my son, though.
I mean, I understand your relationship. It's not that. It's just, it's a legal thing that I'm asking about. So, okay.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay. Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Cervantes?
No, Your Honor.
No.
Couple of quick questions, Your Honor.
All right.
Mr. Cervantes, you said that you live with your brother?
Yes,
currently?
sir.
Does he have any criminal history or CPS history?
I don't think that has anything to do with regulations on the case now, like any of that.
Objection, Your Honor. Non-responsive.
You need to let him finish and answer his question, sir.
Are you personally aware of any criminal history or CPS history that your brother has?
No, sir.
As far as, what is your relationship like with the mother?
We co-parent.
Okay. Do y'all get along?
Of course.
Okay. The charge we talked about earlier, pending out of Potter County for the terroristic threat. Ms. Price is named victim in that case. You're aware of that?
Okay.
Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Okay. Are you aware of what the charging language says, the allegations are?
I'll talk to my lawyer.
Okay. Do you know what the charging language says?
It's a terroristic threat. It's a misdemeanor.
Yes, sir. Do you know what it alleges you did?
Yes, sir.
And what is that?
Well, whatever the report says.
Are you aware that it says that the charging language alleges that you,
I'm aware of all of it, sir.
okay.
Those are just words.
Okay. That it says
Yes,
that
sir.
you threatened to shoot or kill Kayla Price?
Never that.
Are you
Like I
aware?
said, those are just words, allegations. He say, she say type thing.
Objection,
So you know how that goes.
non-responsive.
None of that.
I'm sorry. Okay, listen closely to his question. Okay, Mr. Trout, repeat your question again.
Are you aware that that is what the charging language says?
I'm aware of it.
Okay. And you and Ms. Price, you say co-parent. But
Yes,
I
sir.
asked, what is y'all's relationship like?
She might be mad that I got another girl pregnant. So, I mean, she, of course, she's not a little grudge, but it's none that serious where our kids are in danger of any type.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay.
I don't have any further.
Anybody else have any questions for him?
No.
No questions.
Okay. All right. Mr. Trout, call your next witness.
Elaine Lucero, Your Honor. And how are you familiar with those cases?
I was assigned the case to be an FBSS worker on it
Okay.
after the investigation was complete.
Okay. And did you also actively work on the investigation that led up to the removal?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You've been here for the testimony we've been taking, correct?
Yes, I have.
And so during the FBSS case, Mom had testified a while ago that she broke the safety plans. Is that correct?
Yes.
And would you tell us what those safety plans were?
The initial safety plan that was put in February the 5th during the investigation was that Kayla had requested that the kids be placed with Dominic and his girlfriend. That was actually put in on the 5th of February, and on the 6th, I got a phone call from law enforcement saying that they thought the kids were kidnapped. At the time, it wasn't. It was a safety plan, and so she had went into the daycare. She was supposed to be having a visit with the kids. That's what the daycare was thinking, and she went in and took both of the kids out of the daycare. And so that was the initial safety plan that was broken. The second one that was put in was the first contact that I had with Kayla out at her residence. Whenever I arrived to the house to visit with her, Anthony was in the home. There were 2 other males also in the home, and the home smelled strongly of marijuana. There's a marijuana pen and like a jar of like marijuana dab oil on the counter. And at that point I explained, that he could not be in the house and that him and his friends needed to leave. She signed a safety plan that he wouldn't be in the house. And And unless he was going to cooperate with us, do some classes, I had tried to meet with him the following week and he refused to meet with me. So at that point, I explained that he was not to be in the home. I continued to get reports throughout this case that he was in the home and she denied it up until I finally caught them picking up the kids at the daycare together. And so there had been multiple sightings of them at the daycare and in various places. And so we knew that she was breaking that safety plan.
Oh.
The third one that was put into place was after we received concerns that the kids were showing up to daycare smelling of marijuana strongly, to the point where they asked for none of their belongings to be brought anymore to the daycare. And they had tried to wash their blankets because they smelled so strongly. And so at that point, we did do a random oral swab that was taken on the 18th. And so when that returned on the 23rd of April, Kayla did return positive for cocaine and marijuana. So on that date, we did ask for her to be safety planned at her mom's house with the children. We didn't ask for the children to stay there. We asked for her to be supervised. She agreed to it. She signed it. Her mom signed it as soon as I left the residence. About a couple hours later, her mom called me and told me that she had taken off. And so that was the third safety plan. And then the family agreement was there was an intake at the department involving Dominic, the father. So there was concerns with the kids having contact alone with him. And so we asked Kayla to sign a family agreement that he would have visits at the office. At that point, she had said she wasn't having any contact with him because of his aggression towards her. And so she wouldn't allow him to take the kids. And if he did, that she would contact me. Following that, we received information that he did have the kids the weekend of April the 23rd over the weekend. And then also the incident that occurred with the car, Dominic did inform one of the workers at the department that he had picked up the kids following that incident. So we have a couple of times too showing that that was also not followed.
Okay. Did you discuss, were you present during discussions of, with mom as to the incident involving the car?
Yes.
Okay. What did mom state about that incident?
She denied that it happened the way law enforcement, the report that law enforcement had made, she denied that it happened the way they said. She just denied it all. She said that the kids were in car seats. She denied that the witnesses that were at the scene were lying. She said they were lying. Just basically denied what the officer attested to.
Okay. But did she admit to y'all that she had chased or followed the other car?
She said she followed, is what she said.
Did she state that 911 had told her not to follow the car?
Yes.
And she did anyway?
Yes.
Due to the long ongoing involvement with mom and the kids, we decided to remove, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And due to the multiple times of breaking safety plans, the family agreement, and the incident that happened with the kids in the vehicle, the department decide and ask for removal of the children?
Yes, sir.
And as for the safety of the children right now?
Yes, sir.
And do you believe that that was in the best interest of the children?
I do believe so, sir.
We've talked about it, and you heard mom state earlier, she has completed some of her classes.
Yes.
And you would agree with that? She has done some of the parenting classes?
Yes.
And some of the counseling classes?
Yes, that's correct.
Do you know how many classes were being required? So she did how many classes on the first parenting class?
So the first parenting class was 4 sessions.
Okay.
That was until we received another report. And at that point, we felt like more parenting needed to be taken. And so we did request that she go into Love and Logic, which is it's a 10-week course.
Okay. Is it 10 consecutive weeks, or do you mean one class a week for 10 weeks? What do you mean?
It's one class a week for 10 weeks.
Okay. And she, to your knowledge, she's done 2 of those, is that correct? Or
the last that when I spoke with her, it was 2, and then she had missed one. I don't know how many she's done as of maybe the last couple of weeks. If she's attended those last 2, it's been about 4.
Okay. So at the most, she's not quite halfway, but right there around the halfway mark.
Yes.
Okay. And you heard her state earlier that she's done 3 of the 6 counseling with Christy Paddock.
Yes. That's
Okay.
what I heard.
Were there any other classes that y'all were asking for at the time, or is this just what she was working on?
At the time, no, that's what we had her working on. I don't know what the next plan of service is going to look like with everything that's happened.
Okay. But the department would be asking today, due to mom's behavior and the breaking of safety plans, you're asking the court to award temporary managing conservatorship to the department
Yes, sir.
and for mom and dad to work services.
Yes, sir.
As to dad, to Dominic, we have the name Francisco.
Yes.
Is that correct? Have you ever had any contact with him?
No, we've made several attempts, but we have not been successful.
Okay, and can you tell me his full name? You know,
It is his last name is Armenta, I believe.
have you run any searches on him to try to find him?
There was a clear search that was done, and there was a letter that was sent out to residents, to the last residence that he was at. We haven't received a response.
Was that in this state?
No, it was in Kansas.
In Kansas. So we believe that he's possibly in Kansas,
Yes.
or was at one time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you talked to mom about him, and does she have any contact information for him?
The times that I've spoken with her about him, she said that she's had no contact with him.
Okay. And so, but you have run some searches and are still actively trying to find out where he is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And as far as Dominic Jr.'s case, or Dominic's case, you're asking for a temporary managing conservator of him also, and for mom to work services and dad, if we can find dad.
Yes, sir.
And you believe that's in the best interest?
I do believe so. Yes, sir.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Eldridge?
Okay, Mr. Lucero, just up front, the safety plans were voluntary agreements, correct? My client wasn't ordered to do anything at that point in time, is that right?
Yes, they were agreements between her and the department.
All right, and it looks like 2 of the safety plans involve marijuana, one by Mr. Campbell, and then one where the kids smelled like marijuana, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, my understanding is Mr. Campbell wouldn't do any services, so you don't have any information whether he tested positive for marijuana or any other drugs, is that right?
No, sir. He drug screened for us towards the end.
He did drug screen?
Yes, sir.
Was he positive or negative?
He was positive
For marijuana or what?
for marijuana.
Okay. He wasn't positive cocaine, methamphetamines, none of the hard stuff?
No, sir.
Okay. And then I know that you did that swab on Kayla, but then she did a UA and a hair follicle after that, shortly after that, right?
That was 5 days after the oral swab.
Okay. And what were the results of those?
Those are negative.
Okay. So the swab was a false positive then, correct?
I can't attest to that. I'm sorry.
Well, the hair follicle is the most thorough test that you have, isn't that correct?
Yes.
And it goes back several months, isn't that correct?
Yes.
So if the swab was different than that, then the swab had to be wrong. Either the swab is wrong or the hair follicle is wrong, correct?
That would have to be a question for the lab, sir.
She's been negative every single time you've asked her to do her hair follicle test, hasn't she?
I've asked her once. I don't recall.
Ma'am, objection, non-responsive.
Okay, I mean, you've answered just once, so, all right.
All right. Has she taken any other UAs?
Yes,
And what were the results of those?
they were negative.
Okay. So she's not using drugs, is she?
I can't attest to that. All I can attest is
Based on the results of your drug test, she is not using drugs, is she?
the oral swab was positive. So
And the oral swab was wrong, correct?
again, that would have to be a question.
Objection, argument, the witness is unresponsive and argumentative. I would ask the court director to answer the questions.
Well, I think she's trying to answer it, Mr. Eldridge. I think she's answering that she doesn't know. I mean, she can't, she
Well-
is qualified to interpret that. She's not qualified to give an expert opinion.
I think she's being very disingenuous and not being responsive to the question. She knows that my client is not using drugs based on the several tests that she's passed, including a hair follicle test. It's very clear she's not using drugs. Anyway, I object to her entire testimony if she's not going to be honest and upfront with the court.
Well, Mr. Eldridge, I mean, if you want to ask her opinion, whether or not she thinks that your client's using, but I mean, when you're asking her in the context of the testing, I mean, I think all she can do is say, well, this has been positive and this has been negative. So,
Well, she's leaving the impression, well, the swab was positive. Well, the hair follicle taken right after that was negative. So she's alluding to the fact that she's using drugs. And anyway, I'll ask it in the opinion format. Yes, ma'am. Can I go ahead? May I proceed?
absolutely.
Okay. Miss Lucero, in your opinion, is my client using drugs?
I would opt to not give an answer on an opinion.
Ms. Lucero, just answer what you think. It's just strictly that. It's just your opinion. That could be based on the cumulative times you've met with her. Has she appeared under the influence? Has she not appeared under the influence? Has she always, been able to talk rationally? I mean, your opinion could be based on a wide variety of exposures and experiences with this person.
Mm-hmm.
And it isn't just strictly limited to, he's asked you about the drug test. We all understand. We had a positive oral swab. We've had a negative here. But as a caseworker, I think, he's entitled to ask you for your opinion just based on your experiences with this person.
And well, in my opinion, at the beginning, I was concerned because when I went to the house, it smelled strongly of marijuana. And then after the fact, I wasn't really concerned until I started getting reports from the daycare that the kids were coming smelling like marijuana. So at that point, I didn't know who or what. So, I mean, I can't really say yes or no, like across the board that I was for sure she wasn't, or I was for sure that she was. Now with the drug screens we have we have a positive oral and then we have negative UA and hair. So, I mean, I can't really say, all I can say is the facts, which are the drug screens. I mean, that's it.
Okay, that's fine, Your Honor. I'll move on. How about the children? Have the children been tested?
Yes, they have.
And what were the results of their test?
At this point, those results are pending. I checked right before the hearing to make sure we didn't have them.
Okay. Do you have any positive tests for the marijuana or for the drug test for the kids?
No.
All right. And so basically most of your case is based on hearsay evidence about marijuana, and my client's proven she's not using marijuana. Isn't that correct?
Those aren't the only concerns, sir.
This was most of them, though. You're going off hearsay from the daycare. You're going off one visit with Mr. Campbell. Mr. Campbell may be using marijuana, but my client's not. And there's nothing that shows that anybody has used marijuana around those kids either. Isn't that correct?
Until we get the drug screens back.
Right. There's no evidence right now today that there's been any proof at all that anybody's used any marijuana around those kids, right?
No.
You've made up your mind on this case. You want these kids removed. You don't like my client, do you?
I don't think that has anything to do with the removal, and it's not based around marijuana. There's a lot of other concerns that we've had throughout the case.
Okay, let's talk about the car incident. The car incident, everything you know about it is based on hearsay. Is that correct?
It's based on the police report.
All right, and let's talk about the police. Was she arrested for child endangerment that day?
No.
Okay, the police were there. They investigated. Has she been arrested for that?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so on the day this all happened, was she given a ticket for not having the kids in seatbelts?
I don't believe so.
Okay. So the law enforcement officials that investigated this incident that were there when it happened didn't see a crime related to these children, did they?
I believe they did. Otherwise, they wouldn't have called in a report.
She wasn't arrested, was she, ma'am?
No.
She hasn't been charged, has she?
No, I don't believe so.
It's based on smoke that you're using to remove these kids.
I don't believe it's smoke if a police officer makes a report and calls in a report to the department.
Okay. If there were a crime, she would have been arrested, correct?
Calls for a legal, Mr. Eldridge, that calls for a legal conclusion.
And Judge, I believe Ms. Lucero has also already testified that mom admitted to the incident to her. So it's not just the police report. It came from testimony and statements from mom also.
Right. She admitted to following another car. That's correct. That's not a crime. It's not grounds for removing of the kids. Anyway, I'll pass the witness, Your Honor. This witness is clearly not objective, and she's got a lot of power in this case that I just think is unfair for my client.
Okay. Anybody have any further questions for Ms. Lucero?
I have not questioned her yet, Your Honor.
You may go right ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Lucero, have you ever investigated a case after a report was made by the police that did not result in a removal?
Yes.
At the beginning of your contact with Ms. Price, were the children placed with my client, Dominic?
Yes, there was a safety plan.
Okay. And at that time, was he already on probation out of Carson County?
Yes, I believe so.
And was the charge in Potter County already pending?
I'm not sure. I believe so.
Okay. So even though he's on probation and had some pending charges, the department still believed him to be safe?
Yes, during the investigation, they did, because he was not, I guess policy states that with him not being a perpetrator in this case, then the kids had the opportunity to go with him.
Okay. And then when Ms. Price violated her safety plan, that's when they were taken from Mr. Cervantes. Is that correct?
Yes, she went and picked them up and refused to take them back to his home.
Are you opposed to the children residing again with Mr. Cervantes?
At this time, yes.
And why is that?
There was an intake the department received on March the 29th involving Mr. Cervantes and his current girlfriend.
Was the child removed in that case?
I don't believe so.
And just to clarify, I believe you testified to this a second ago, but he is a non-offending parent in this case, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
There was one other thing I wanted to ask you. It has slipped my mind, so I'll pass the witness. Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor. I recall my question.
Go ahead.
Ms. Lucero, if the department is granted temporary managing conservatorship, are you able to say whether Mr. Cervantes would be allowed visits with both of the boys?
I believe, I mean, I'm for sure with Devin. I don't know what the legal part of that would look like. I guess that would be a question for Judge Baker. I'm not sure.
If the judge were to order those visits, would they be allowed by St. Francis?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, thank you. I'll pass the witness.
All right. Anybody else have any questions for Ms. Lucero? All right. Okay, Mr. Trout, any further witnesses?
Sorry, Judge, I was muted. I got just a couple more questions for Ms. Lucero real quick. Ms. Lucero, is the pending drug screen on the boys the only time they've been screened?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there's not been any screens prior to it, correct?
No, sir.
Okay. And concerns in this case, there's concerns for the possible marijuana use around the boys.
Yes, sir.
There's concerns that throughout different stages in this case, there have been some bruises that have been explained, some that not so much explained.
Yes, sir.
Okay. There's concerns of the incident with the car, regardless of whether there was charges brought, there was an issue that happened that day, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the boys were present for it.
Yes, sir.
Concerns with Mr. Cervantes, he's on probation for drugs. He's on bond for a domestic violence case, and he's on has a pending case for terroristic threat against the mom. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Due to those factors, is that why the department decided to ask for removal?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And that is why, to work out the issues with parents to be able to get the children back into the home. Is that what the goal is?
Yes, sir. That is.
And you believe that's in the best interest of the kid?
Yes, sir. I do.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right. Anybody have any other questions for Ms. Lucero?
No questions, Your Honor.
Just, I have one, Your Honor. I have follow-up.
Sure.
So, Ms. Lucero, is there any indication that the bruising, I didn't talk about the bruising, any indication that my client caused any of those bruises?
No, sir. Not at this time.
Has anybody been charged with anything related to those bruises?
No, sir.
And those bruises have been explained, and a doctor has looked at those bruises and found nothing inappropriate. Isn't that correct?
Our FACN doctor looked at the bruises and she concluded that they were from abuse caused with an object.
Any idea where it came from? The daycare, the grandmother?
No, sir.
No idea, right?
No, sir.
Okay. Isn't the real reason for removal here is my client was obstinate, which I promise I've taken care of that. But she was obstinate in the beginning, and you guys don't like her, and these little things you used to remove her kids. Isn't that correct?
No, sir.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay, anybody else have any questions for Ms. Lucero?
Your Honor, I wouldn't much say it's a question, not just it's a statement really. I mean, my boys, you know, they are rough.
Okay, sir, hang on
They're
just a
two
second.
boys.
Hang on just a minute. That's kind of not how this works. So if your attorney wants to call you as a witness, you know, and get into some of that, then that's fine. But you don't get to just kind of tell me what you
Well, I
want.
thought, you know, any questions, anything like that. I apologize.
No, it's okay. It's just not
Would
how.
like to talk to my lawyer.
So yeah, if you want to talk to your attorney, I'll certainly put you in a breakout room so you can do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let's see. Sapien, I'll put you in room 2. So, Mr. Cervantes, you're going to get a prompt. All right. So first thing first, anybody have any other questions for Ms. Lucero?
No.
No question, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Strout, do you have any additional witnesses to call?
No additional witnesses, Your Honor.
Department arrest?
Department arrest.
Okay. Ms. Sapien?
Thank you, Judge. I will briefly call my client, Dominic Cervantes.
All right, Mr. Cervantes, you're still under oath, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Understood. I just wanted to key in,
Well,
like,
wait,
you know.
let me ask you a question, Dominic.
Yes, ma'am.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
You may.
Thank you. Mr. Cervantes, since you last testified, have you been present for testimony?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you've heard the testimony regarding bruises found on your children?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And have you, as their dad, been able to observe them together?
Yes, ma'am.
And what have you been able to observe as to how the children interact together?
That Devin's trying to be like his older brother, you know. I mean, they're not much far apart from each other. So he is trying to catch up and be just like him. So, you know, boys being boys, I mean, no, of course they're rough house or whatever, but we are there to stop them and tell them like that's enough, you know.
Okay. So you've observed the brothers kind of wrestle around?
Yes, ma'am.
And when that is occurring, are you or Ms. Price there to prevent any serious injuries to the children?
Of course.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay. And Mr. Strout?
I have no questions for him, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Eldridge, any other questions?
I'll ask Mr. Cervantes a quick question. Mr. Cervantes, do you believe that Ms. Price has physically abused either one of those boys?
No, sir. I couldn't even lie about it, even if I wanted to. I don't think she did.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Zavala?
Mr. Cervantes, is it correct that Devin's have had multiple bite marks on his body?
Yes, ma'am. And I seen one when CPS brought me the kids. But also Devin is fighting a mutation that not much doctors know about. So, you know, I can understand him getting easily bruised, and, you know, he is clumsy. So if he falls and hits or a toy falling, he might be able to catch a bruise.
Okay, but bite marks wouldn't be something he causes himself, correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. And like I said, him trying to be like his brother, he might be trying to take the toy his brother got, or, you know, and Junior, of course, it's trauma on him because, you know, he don't have his dad no more. So, like, I could see it, you know, kids being kids. They're both boys.
So you think that's what the bite marks are, just boys being boys?
I mean, I wouldn't say just boys being boys, but I say that, you know, it has a little bit with like trauma wise, you know. I'm not gonna say that Junior dislikes Devin or they're always fighting, but you know how kids can get, especially if one's playing with something, the other one's trying to come take it.
I pass wins.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Cervantes?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Mr. Eldridge, do you rest?
I do. We've been through everything backwards and forwards. I rest.
Okay. Ms. Sapien?
I'll rest, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Zavala, anything to present other than your recommendation?
No, Your Honor.
And do you have a recommendation to make?
Your Honor, at this time, it is my recommendation that the boys remain in the temporary managing conservatorship of the department. However, I don't see any reason why we can't move very quickly to get them with one or the other of the parents and have the services worked. I don't see this as a case that would take a long time to get back on the right track.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I'm going to hold my decision until the drug tests come back on the children. I think that's a pivotal question today, whether abuse or neglect may have occurred with respect to the children. So as soon as the drug screens come in, I want those forwarded to me so we can take a look at that, and then I'll let everybody know what I'm going to do.
So, Your Honor, does that mean that we'll have another court date when their hair follicle test comes in?
No, there won't be another hearing. I'll make a ruling at that time and notify all the attorneys of my ruling. And if I decide to keep the boys in care, then, we will have subsequent hearings. If I decide not to keep them in care, then they'll be returned to you.
Okay, it's because I don't understand how the hair follicle test is taking so long if mine came back in just days, not even 2 days. I was told I had a negative result. Tomorrow will be 5 days since their hair follicle test.
All I can tell you is that if the tests are negative, they do usually come back faster. If they're positive, they do a confirmation on those, and so it typically takes a little longer. But we did have a holiday, during this week, so there could be other explanations for it. So, but as soon as those are back and filed, then I just need somebody to call it to my attention so I can look at them.
Yes, ma'am. We'll let you know when they are, yeah.
Okay. The only other thing that I will say, since, depending on what I ultimately decide, I may or may not speak to you and Mr. Cervantes again, Ms. Price, but,
Your Honor, may I speak before you do?
Nope. The only thing I'm going to say to both of you is, you've both engaged in some very immature behavior.
Yes, ma'am.
And of course, Mr. Cervantes, you have apparently engaged in some, violent behavior, which is very concerning. So, all I'm going to say is y'all better start getting it together, because you've got two wonderful little kiddos that need you.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
They need you to be grown-ups.
Of course.
So, Ms. Price, it's time to stop chasing people around because you're mad or you're jealous or whatever the reason is. You're angry.
Yes, ma'am.
When your kids are in the car. So that.
Yes, ma'am.
That's behavior that could have had disaster written all over it. And quite frankly, you got really lucky that something bad didn't happen.
Yes, ma'am. I understand that.
So when you look at yourself in the mirror, you ask yourself if you've been involved in an accident and one of those children had been seriously injured or killed, is it something that you would have wanted to live in your life? And I'm not overstating that. Okay. I'll let everybody know.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Everybody
Your Honor.
excused?
Everybody may be excused. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Dominic,
Judge.
I will call you when I have a ruling, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. We may walk over in a minute and see y'all's new courtroom because I haven't been over there. I haven't been in the new courthouse yet.
Sure.